We're going to take you back to Queen's Park now, where Ontario Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy is delivering his government's fall economic forecast. Here it is.
To deliver our 2023 Ontario Economic Outlook and Fiscal Review, Building a Strong Ontario Together.
Ontario, Mr. Speaker, is growing rapidly. Last year alone, 500,000 more people chose Ontario as their home. There are 4,400 more businesses in our province today than there were last year, representing over half the new businesses that open in the entire country. And these new businesses mean new jobs. In fact, 170,000 net new jobs since January, Mr. Speaker. While this is good news for Ontario, we cannot take this growth for granted. As I've said many times before, Ontario is not immune to the risk of the economic slowdown. High inflation and the Bank of Canada's rapid interest rate increases are weighing on Ontario's outlook for the remainder of the year and into next year. Russia's war on the Ukraine and the recent horrific terrorist attack against Israel means continued heightened geopolitical uncertainty. With these economic and geopolitical challenges, there comes a choice. We can go back to a time when manufacturing jobs left the province in droves, when gridlock brought our communities and our economy to a standstill, when workers worked harder and harder, but life became tougher and tougher. Or we can continue on our path, a path that involves creating better jobs and bigger paychecks, a path that is building infrastructure we need to serve a growing population, that is fiscally responsible, and that includes a path to balance the budget. Mr. Speaker, our path and our road ahead is clear. We must continue with our government's responsible, targeted approach. We must continue with our plan to build a strong Ontario.
We must pursue our plan to build a strong Ontario. And we must do this together.
Mr. Speaker, we are attracting new jobs and new investments. We're building the critical infrastructure needed to support our growing communities. We are training workers to fill the jobs needed in key sectors like healthcare and the skilled trades. We are putting money back into the pockets of the people of Ontario during a time of high interest rates and high inflation. And we are providing better public supports and services for the most vulnerable. Mr. Speaker, due to a slowing economy impacting revenue and increasing our ability to respond to risks, our government is now projecting a $5.6 billion deficit in 23-24. And in 24-25, we are forecasting a deficit of $5.3 billion, followed by a balanced budget in 25-26. And as we deal with the uncertainty ahead, Mr. Speaker, our government will never hesitate to do what is necessary to support the people and businesses of Ontario.
As we deal with the uncertainty ahead, Mr. Speaker, our government will never hesitate to do what is necessary to support the people and businesses of our province.
Mr. Speaker, our government is building Ontario. It starts in the north, where we are unlocking the incredible potential of the critical minerals, and finally, building the roads to the Ring of Fire in partnership with Indigenous communities. Mr. Speaker, critical minerals are the key to positioning Ontario as a global economic powerhouse, ready to seize the electric vehicle revolution and energy transition and be a serious player amidst geopolitical change. And that's why I'm pleased to announce that we are proposing to enhance the Ontario-focused flow-through share tax credit to encourage more critical mineral exploration. Mr. Speaker, our story starts in the north, but it leads to the south, where we are connecting these critical minerals to our province's leading electric vehicle manufacturing sector. You know, Mr. Speaker, it's no secret that the previous government decimated manufacturing in Ontario. Jobs left the province in droves. Well, Mr. Speaker, under this government and this Premier, manufacturing is back in Ontario and it's stronger than ever. Over the last 3 years, our government has attracted more than $26 billion in transformative auto and electric vehicle battery-related investments to Ontario. From Algoma to Windsor. It's our member from Windsor there. Ontario is becoming the heartland of the electric vehicle and clean steel manufacturing revolution. D'Algoma à Windsor.
From Algoma to Windsor, Ontario is becoming the heartland of the electric vehicle and clean steel manufacturing revolution.
And Mr. Speaker, this is just the beginning. Our Ontario-made manufacturing investment tax credit is helping lower manufacturing costs, innovate, and maintain a competitive edge. And Mr. Speaker, to keep up the momentum, today, our government is providing $100 million in new funding to invest Ontario to attract more investments and more jobs right here at home in Ontario. And we are supporting all of this by continuing to invest in Ontario's clean energy advantage. Mr. Speaker, all this growth means we need more infrastructure. We need more highways to transport the goods we are producing. We need more transit to get people to where they are going. We need more hospitals. We need more schools to serve our growing population. But a growing economy, Mr. Speaker, and population is not the only reason we need to build. After decades of previous governments saying no, we inherited an infrastructure deficit in this province, and that's why we are building Ontario. We are building more highways like Highway 13 and Bradford Bypass. We are investing in more transit like the Ontario Line and the Northlander. Across the province, we are building hospitals, long-term care homes, schools, and childcare spaces. But as hundreds of thousands of people move to Ontario each year, existing infrastructure is becoming more and more strained. And despite our historic and unprecedented $185 billion capital plan, Ontario must build even more. And Ontario taxpayers can't shoulder the costs alone. That's why I am pleased to announce that today our government is launching the Ontario Infrastructure Bank. Here, here. Monsieur le Président, je suis heureux.
Speaker, I'm delighted to announce that our government is launching the new Ontario Infrastructure Bank.
Of many other jurisdictions around the world with similar entities, the bank will attract trusted institutional investors to help finance essential infrastructure that would otherwise not get built. A new arm's-length agency, the bank, will leverage investments by public sector pension plans and other trusted institutional investors to help fund large-scale infrastructure projects right across the province. At the outset, the projects financed through this new agency will be focused on long-term care homes, energy infrastructure, affordable housing, municipal and community infrastructure, and yes, Mr. Speaker, transportation. You know, Canada is renowned for one of the strongest pension systems in the world, including what we call the Maple 8. the largest funds in Canada and some of the most influential investors in the world. And we've heard from these funds that they are looking for more opportunities to invest workers' savings in Canada and right here in Ontario. With the Ontario Infrastructure Bank, we're creating opportunities for these Canadian pension funds to seize our home field advantage and invest right here at home. Mr. Speaker, the federal government also has to do its part. We're calling on Ottawa to invest in a new next-generation infrastructure program that provides adequate funding to address the critical infrastructure needs of provinces and municipalities. But in the meantime, yes, I heard a clap. In the meantime, I'm announcing that we're investing $200 million over 3 years in a new Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund. The fund is another step to help unlock new housing opportunities by ensuring water infrastructure necessary is built for new housing development. And to the people of Ontario listening today, I want you to know that building a stronger Ontario together means that your government is working for you. Bâtir un Ontario fort.
Building a strong Ontario together means that your government is working for you.
To fill in-demand jobs, better public services for more people, and keeping costs down for you and your family. Mr. Speaker, I've spoken a lot about building the economy and infrastructure, as has the Premier, as has every one of my colleagues. But it's workers who are getting it done. And we are working for workers. We have invested over $1 billion so more people can get a head start. We are partnering with private sector unions to train people for in-demand careers. And Mr. Speaker, we are helping workers plan for their retirement. Target benefit pension plans are offered by unions and associations to ensure their members have a secure retirement. They are common for workers in the skilled trades. Now, Mr. Speaker, the previous government overlooked and undervalued target pension plans by refusing to put in place a permanent regulatory framework in place for these plans. Mr. Speaker, our government is changing that. We're proposing a much-needed new permanent framework for target benefit pension plans. The new framework will help to protect the security for retirement for our workers while making a career in the skilled trades even more attractive. While we are working to protect retirement securities of workers in the long run, we also acknowledge the significant impact of inflation on people today. When inflation began to rise globally, we acted quickly and early to put money back in people's pockets. We eliminated the license plate renewal fees and stickers, saving the average family $600 so far. We increased the minimum wage. And of course, Mr. Speaker, we temporarily cut the gas and fuel tax rates. Now, inflation remains elevated. People and businesses continue to feel the pinch, particularly as the federal carbon tax makes everyday life more expensive. That is why today we are proposing that the gas tax cut be extended to June 30th, 2024. And that way we can put more money back in the pockets of the people where it belongs. Mr. Speaker, growing communities need housing. Since last fall, we have been calling on the federal government to remove the HST builder's pay on new purpose-built rental housing. Mr. Speaker, I'm glad to inform the House that the federal government has answered Ontario's call. And as we committed, our government is removing the provincial portion of the HST on these projects. By encouraging builders to build more rental units, our government is helping people in Ontario find and afford a place to live. Now, Mr. Speaker, as we help keep costs down for people, we are also providing more convenient and better services, like in health care. Through our actions, pharmacists can now prescribe treatment for 19 common minor ailments. And, Mr. Speaker, through the leadership of the Deputy Premier and Minister of Health, the wait list for surgeries has been reduced by more than 25,000 from the peak in March 2022. Wow. And beginning in the fall of 2024, women aged 40 to 49 will be able to self-refer for a mammogram to screen for breast cancer. Our government continues to build a more connected and convenient healthcare system for the people of Ontario. But let me tell you, Mr. Speaker, and to the people of Ontario, the road ahead will not be easy. The economic challenges on the horizon underscore the need to remain fiscally disciplined and responsible. And by maintaining our path to balance, that is what our government is doing. And, Mr. Speaker, we have seen what the people of Ontario can accomplish when we come together. Nous avons été témoins de ce que les Ontariens.
We've seen what the people of Ontario can accomplish when we come together.
We can overcome any obstacle. Together, we can face economic certainty. Together, we can build the critical infrastructure we need to support our growing communities. Mr. Speaker, we can build Ontario together. Thank you very much.
All right, busy day at Queen's Park, where Ontario's Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy has just tabled his government's fall economic statement. We'll walk you through the big takeaways. The government projecting a $5.6 billion deficit in 2023-24. Total expenses for 2023-24 now expected at $206 billion, $1.7 billion higher than the spring budget. The government also launching the Ontario Infrastructure Bank, focused on long-term care, homes, energy infrastructure, affordability, housing, and much more.